You mentioned how a child's home life can essentially affect their mental health in a negative way. So, how do you think SB 14 could change that and for the better?
I think SB 14 is going to make a big difference for a lot of families, and we are hoping that it will make a difference a little bit before you have to get involved in the child welfare system. I think that oftentimes kids are generally healthy to begin with, and so sometimes they may be born with something, or they may have adverse experiences, or something just may happen to them. And sometimes they're not able to quite manage it, and oftentimes their families don't understand it or manage it. And what you just heard from Delhi Champagne, that sometimes families can't find the services that they need. So everything all at once starts to crumble. If there's something like an emergency response system where people can come to you right away, help you sort of objectively work through what's going on, de-escalate the situation, and do a good examination of what is it that we need to stabilize the family, then that's going to prevent a whole cascade of events that includes sometimes children being removed from their homes unnecessarily, children even being placed in correctional facilities because their needs aren't met.
Mr. Perry, can you describe to us what We Are Hope does?
Absolutely. So We Are Hope is a nonprofit organization that brings anxiety education, coaching, trauma-informed interactive services, and suicide prevention to individuals and schools struggling to find affordable support options. And so what that really means is that we go into the public schools and we partner with them to be able to help coach their children that are struggling in the schools around mental health issues and give them the support that they needed where they're most typically at, which is in school. And we also teach and train the educators within the school around the same issues and how they can help support the children that are currently struggling as well.
What types of improvements have you seen through your organization?
Wow. So most of the children that we work with are in the midst of getting suspended, expelled. I actually got a call from a superintendent recently saying that we were the last hope, if you will, no pun intended, to support this child, or this kindergartner was going to get kicked out of school. And so what we do is we go in and really model good behavior that this child may not otherwise see at home. We show love, compassion, and empathy that sometimes schools don't have the time to show. Not that it's not there or not readily available, but they just don't have time to show it. And so what we see is a significant shift in children's overall behavior based on being able to feel those things every day in school.
So part of the organization deals with using technology and digital media to help struggling youth. Yeah. So how do you think that's an effective strategy to help these kids?
Oh man, so that's a really good question. And when we were creating this, one of the things we said was, one of our taglines is meeting people where they're at. And what better way to meet youth than where they're at except on their phone? So we support children via telecoaching. We support adults via telecoaching all over the country and all over the world. We've worked with a child in Mexico, and then back in the U.S. in Georgia, Texas, Boston, Connecticut, Maine, Pennsylvania. So being able to reach people where they need support really changes the game. Right? So we have to be able to use those services to the best of our ability as opposed to using them for YouTube, right? Or using them for Snapchat, right? Why not use them for something that's really important, and that's your own mental health?
Great. Okay, and now we're going to go to the audience for some additional questions.
So I went to the Youth Summit in Concord in 2019, obviously that just happened. So is it safe to say up to this point, because I've heard some of the answers from students, have we failed our students up to this point with getting them the right help?
I don't think I would say we've failed students, because that would suggest that no one's been trying to help them. So there are a lot of folks who have really done what they could to help students who are coming to school every day, but I think that they're exhausted and they're overwhelmed, and they never really had all of the equipment and resources and supplies that they needed to be able to respond. And so It really is just timely to move on and to start supporting kids with it. We've also had an explosion of brain science in the last 20 years, and so we understand a little bit better about the long-term consequences of not helping students as soon as we can. So I think that that's also a good push, and that's seen in the federal legislation that was passed last year, the Families First Prevention Services Act, which is going to change all of our child welfare systems into a more preventative mode. So setting up the system of care through SB 14 is really going to ready us for that as well. But it's a very rare moment in history where science and legislation are aligned for the first time. And we're really seeing what we need, and we're putting it in place so that we can help. So I know a lot of children do feel hopeless, but I hope that we'll be able to convince them, and with their help in advocating too, from things like the summit, that'll push people to the point where they make the right decisions. Thanks for that question.
Yeah, I also don't think that we've failed children at all. I think that, quite frankly, we are just often, as a society in America, we're just reactive and not proactive. And I think more than anything, now in this day and age, we're learning to be proactive, right? So we learn from our mistakes, and we're learning that we haven't failed them, but the system is just broken. And we need to make changes.
Yeah, and I think, what I found so profound about the Youth Summit is we need to do more listening, and that's what the goal of that Youth Summit was, and it was unbelievable what we were hearing from the students, and we learned a lot, so I'll tell you that.